Hi everyone. So in this series there's going to be probably 3 or 4 videos on the same theme, and the theme is aromatic shamanism, which is how we've labeled the work that we do in the world with healing and aroma. So in this first video we're both going to talk a little bit about what aromatic shamanism means to us and a sort of general introduction to the work we do with aromas.
So the first thing to remember is that we really work with the essential oils as embodiments of the living spirit of the plant. They're not products, they're not tools, they are living teachers, guides, and partners.
And in a way, the route that we take with the essential oils, aromas, incense, plant aromas, is that we don't have a set use for each oil. The idea is that we know the oils uniquely in terms of how we interact with them, each of us. And then when we're working with someone, we are tuning into where they're at. And in a way, we invite the oils in, rather than saying with our left brain, hey, that oil's good for that. What we really do is tune in to where the person's at. And as we journey along with them, then the right oil comes to mind. And the right oil is invited in, or invites itself in, because the tools with which we work, so our toolbox of oils, are very intimate allies with us in the first place. So because we know them so well and we know how they work with us and we have built relationship with them, then that is enough. We don't have to have a left brain reasoning for using this oils, and that's why in a way it's called aromatic shamanism. It's a shamanic way of working with oils rather than a left brain way.
The oils, as we said, are the personality, this living spirit of the plant. And just like I always say, when you have a human friend, you don't say, oh, that's my friend for eating pizza and that's my friend for going to the movies. Each of them is a holistic being, and each of them can teach us many lessons. And it requires that intimate relationship that Cathy talks about. You can't say, based on book knowledge, oh, I want the oil to do this. The oil has to play a living role. And the same oil can give many different teachings, and different oils can give the same teaching or overlapping teachings.
I think what's important to add here is that really all the ancient civilizations, and I'm bringing to mind India, Egypt, the Arabian countries, and even Christianity and Europe have used scent and fragrance as a way of accessing the deeper, unseen realms of the psyche that we're not naturally in our everyday lives, or many of us are not, because the left brain tends to dominate, especially in the world in which we live in today, where materialism and analytical thinking are really king. We've forgotten much about the psyche that is important for the healing journey.
So regarding the ancient use of these oils, again, that is ancient spiritual technology that inspires us, but there's also newer aromas that we work with. And I think what's really important is that you can't say when you're working with someone with an aroma, oh, you're going to smell this oil and I'm not going to smell it and it's not going to touch me. And that's the invitation. That's where it's also shamanic, because we have to put our skin in the game, so to say. We have to be present, work on ourselves, be present and tune into our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. And above all, we have to continue to do the work on ourselves. We can't just, again, go to the book. We have to have this living experience, both the friendship, the teaching relationship with the oils, and the commitment to growth, our own personal path.
So in a way, what the oils do in this type of work is they act as a bridge between the worlds, so between matter, or the body, and the spirit, and how we see this, that is the meeting point is the soul. So our work involves healing the whole person, and we concentrate on the emotional, mental, spiritual aspects of the person, not because we don't think we need to heal the physical body, but that's where our work is concentrated. Everybody has their speciality. So this bridge building that the oils do between matter and spirit enable the person to become conscious of this other part of themselves, this deep soul aspect of the psyche. And really it's there, by connecting with this part of ourself, that we can realize and work on the things that are either stagnating or causing us pain in some way, or eventually causing us physical pain. But we need to get in contact with that part of us, and it's there that the oils really know what they're doing and can guide as allies and guides people into the realms of themselves that they're less familiar with.
So you could say that the oils reconnect us. They reconnect us to ourselves, to our unconscious, to our soul, to our higher self. They reconnect us to nature. And really this disconnection is the modern disease. It is the disease of the mind, where we're disconnected from our body and everything else, thinking the mind is the only thing that's important. And we see that as people are spending more and more time on screens online. They're not really inhabiting the rest of themselves, which is so much more important. But we also need to reconnect with nature, because if we don't, we're very rapidly in the process of destroying ourselves and nature.
And I think that link between nature and the way that the oils work with us is extremely important as well, because these molecules, these volatile molecules, touch parts of ourselves that are also very connected. We're part of nature, as are the plants and the plant oils. So, for example, sandalwood is a very ancient oil that's been used in Hinduism for many thousands of years, and other civilizations. And there's a sesquiterpenic molecule, I can't remember the name of the molecule in sandalwood, that is very similar to the pheromones that we communicate with through smell when we're unconsciously looking for a sexual partner, for example. And so in Tantrism, the idea was that sandalwood really resonated with our subtle body, with our aura, with something not just invisible, but that was tangible, that was part of us, was subtle but tangible. And it's interesting because Florian wore for many years a very special sandalwood oil in a little pouch. And I always felt that the smell of the oil was the smell of Florian. And then I realized, well, in a way it was, because it wasn't only because he was carrying it, but was because this relevance, this connection, this resonance with his own fair hormones.
And that's actually another way in which you can partner with oils. We've both had the experience, and many of you may have had the experience, where you're walking through the room, or you're sitting with a client, all of a sudden you smell an oil or an aroma that isn't even in the room, and it's almost like the plant is talking to you on that level. I wanted to mention briefly, this is an introduction, and so we're going to touch on many subjects that we hope to expound on in future videos and writings and blog posts. And to me, what I'm really struck by is the strange symmetry between many aromatic molecules and psychedelic molecules. The famous psychedelic researcher Alexander Shulgin said that he noted this symmetry, where if you just change one nitrogen, many aromatic molecules become psychedelic molecules. And he said nature's trying to tell us something. And I kind of think that's an arbitrary division, because we know that these aromatic molecules have profoundly psychedelic effects on us, that they really change the psyche. And again, it's another dimension of this aromatic shamanism. We're really wanting to reconnect and to transform, not just to alleviate symptoms, to really invite and go on a journey in partnership with these aromas.
Yeah, and I mean, people who take psychedelics medicinally or for healing, there's often a connection with a part of themselves, again, that is more difficult to connect with in everyday life. We could call it really a connection with spirit and with soul. And again, if we go back to the ancient civilizations, oils and aromatics, fragrances and incense were really a language that connected us to the gods and to spirit. So this is something that hasn't just come out of nowhere. It's a part of ourself as humans that we mustn't lose contact with, that is an important part of ourselves, especially today in the world where we're seeing the outcome of having lost contact with it. So in a way, these multi-layers that the aromas help us contact with, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, are extremely important for what we call holistic healing. We need to be able to access these different parts of ourselves to fully heal. It's not enough just to put a plaster on something that's hurting or take medicine for a physical ailment. We need to really honor and connect with all parts of ourselves. So this is really what aromatic shamanism enables us to do.
That's one reason I've called these molecules the molecules of connectedness, so you could also call them molecules of reconnection. And again, there's another shamanic dimension of that. Often people are fragmented, a part of themselves split off for self-protection, preservation, survival, sometimes a long time ago. And the oils are really good at reconnecting, journeying, helping us journey to those parts. And it's not just the self, but again, the self, like a tree with its root in the ground and its branches in the heavens. We can use the oils to connect with the ancestors. We can use the oils to connect with all these realms in the collective unconscious, what some Jungians call the transpersonal realm, where there is required healing also happening.
And on a more practical level, the work that we do together is really about helping people to find their personal myth, reconnect with really the essence of themselves. And we do this, one of the tools that we use in our work, a central core tool, is alchemy. And we use the alchemical stages as a framework for people to travel through, and that helps them to recognize where they're at in their psyche and what stage they're at and what's happening to them. And this is where the oils are absolutely perfect, because we need guides when we're working deeply on an alchemical level with all parts of ourselves. We need guides. And there are spirit guides, animals and plants on a spiritual level, but the oils bring in, again, this bridge. They're real, they're tangible. They're not just in the invisible realm, but they're extremely subtle. So they really do help us to journey through the alchemical stages. And that's a really big part of our work. So if you're interested, do look us up and see what we have to offer on that level.
I think what's important to mention in this context, when we work on those subtle realms and in those subtle bodies, it's very easy to get lost. And that's why, on the one hand, the alchemical stages are really helpful, because they're sort of a roadmap, and they help us tolerate and understand and allow us to go through these difficult transformations, because the natural ego response is to say, oh, that's uncomfortable, I don't want to feel that, I just want to cover that up. So by recognizing through the discomfort and the flavor of the discomfort what alchemical stage we're in, we can allow ourselves to go through it instead of avoiding it. And again, that's sort of the roadmap, and then the allies help us, the aromatic allies help us guide through there. I wanted to mention in this context of reconnection, I forgot to say it earlier, but really the modern disease that modern humanity is afflicted with is what some people call wetiko. It's an old Lakota term, which is a soul sickness where we're cut off. And one of the main symptoms is that we think that cut-offness is normal and everything else is woo-woo or sick. So that one of the symptoms of the sickness is to think, well, we're not sick. This modern capitalist divide and conquer world where everything is just material to be exploited is healthy, when in fact that worldview is like a thought virus. It is something that possesses us. And I think, again, aromatic shamanism to us is one of the best ways to heal Wetiko.
And one of the things I think is important to mention before we leave is that we've seen hundreds of clients together using this form of healing with aromatics. And one of the things that we've noticed is that the psychotherapeutic journey is it not only intensified, but happens much more quickly with the way that the essential oils access the nervous system and get things moving. And that, coupled with the individual person's reaction, because of who they are, every person reacts differently to the oil, means that there's a really powerful movement. And that's what we're looking for. When people come to us, it's often because they're stuck, because something is happening for them that they can't access, that there are feelings that are coming up that are elusive, whatever it might be. This form of healing on a psychological level is extremely effective.
So maybe you can ask us questions in the comments below. The next steps would be you could subscribe to our email list. We have some online classes. More and more people are contacting us for individual consultations. What else?
We'll leave the link, AromaGnosis.com, at the bottom of the video. And we have an interesting newsletter that we send out every week. And there are some free resources on our website as well that you can access. One of them is a shadow video and shadow worksheet, and the other is a journaling guide. And there'll be other new resources coming up regularly if you sign up for our newsletter. So thank you very much. And next week we'll come back with some more detail of how aromas affect the mind and the psyche. Thank you.
See you soon.